Do you think a breakup is the end? No. Sometimes it's just the beginning of anonymous messages, midnight knocks on your door, and eyes staring at you from a face you once loved, now looking at you like prey. In tonight's video, you'll hear 3 true stories about relationships that should have ended, but instead opened a door into fear. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and be ready. Story 1. The shadow behind the photo. I once dated a girl named Kelly. We met on Bumble and realized we had gone to the same college. We clicked instantly. Within weeks of texting, coffee dates, and hand-holding, we made it official. The first few months were amazing. Kelly was smart, beautiful, and seemed like a great listener. But then, like a mask slowly slipping off, I started to see her true self. Kelly became extremely controlling. She demanded to track my location at all times, made me send photos whenever I went out, and even tracked how long I stayed online. If I didn't reply within 10 minutes, my phone would blow up with messages some sweet others threatening. She had no real friends. If I went out without her, she'd call me non-stop. One time I went gaming with friends for one evening and received nearly 60 texts from her afterward accusing me of hiding something. The final straw was a night about 3 years ago. I went out drinking with friends without telling her. When I came home, Kelly was standing in front of my house alone in the dark, lit only by a street lamp. Her face pale, her eyes wild. She ran up to me, slapping me over and over, screaming like someone deranged liar cheater. I had to restrain her, but when I did, she screamed, "Let me go. I'll call the cops." That's when I knew it had to end. I broke up with her that very night. But it didn't stop there. The next few days, she spammed my phone with mixed messages, some begging, some cursing, often both in the same text. I finally blocked her on everything. For a while, it was quiet. Until one night, as I was lying in bed, I heard a loud banging on the door. Not knocking, slamming like someone trying to break in. I turned off all the lights and held my breath. Then a man's voice yelled from outside, "Come out. I know you're in there. You think you can hide from me." I peeked through the blinds and nearly dropped my phone. Standing on my porch was a large bearded man in a black jacket. His face. I recognized him instantly. He was the guy in one of Kelly's old Instagram photos. He stood there, eyes bulging, gripping a metal rod. I called 911 in a panic. When police arrived, he was still smashing my SUV. They arrested him on the spot. While being cuffed, he shouted, "You'll pay for texting Kelly. I know you talked bad about me." But I hadn't spoken to Kelly since the breakup. When I messaged her asking what was going on, she only replied with one line, "I don't know what you're talking about." I got a restraining order the next day. Strangely, that photo of her and the man disappeared from her Instagram by morning. I haven't heard from Kelly since. But ever since that night, whenever I hear knocking after midnight, I still freeze, wondering if it's another shadow behind the photo. Story 2. Footsteps in the dark. I grew up in a rough neighborhood where the street lights flickered and sirens were just part of the night. I lived with my mom in a small house at the end of the block. And maybe that's why I stayed with Keen, the boyfriend who made me feel protected and trapped. Keen was tall, muscular, and short-tempered. We were together for almost 2 years. He hit me, threatened me, but I stayed because I was scared. Scared that if I left, he wouldn't let me go. I finally broke up with Keen by text on a gloomy afternoon. I couldn't face him, he might snap. Seconds after I sent it, my phone blew up. Calls, messages, curses. I had to turn off the phone. That night I was home alone. My mom was working a late shift. I locked every door, checked every bolt, and climbed into bed with my cat Nala. Around 1 a.m., I woke up. I heard something soft creaks like floorboards. I called out Mom. No answer. I turned on the living room light. No one. Front door still locked. Back in bed, Nala sat perfectly still. I reached to pick her up and froze. Her body was cold, eyes wide open, not breathing. I almost screamed but clapped a hand over my mouth. I knew. Someone had come in. I locked my bedroom door, hid in the closet, and whispered to 911, "I think it's my ex. He killed my cat. I think he's still in the house." I sat in that closet, heart pounding, terrified. I imagined him on the other side of the door, ear pressed to the wood, waiting for any sound. The police arrived in 10 minutes. They entered through the unlocked front door. I ran out sobbing, pointing to Nala. "There are scratches on the back door handle," one officer said. I knew he had used the spare key he once saw my mom hide under a flower pot. No clear evidence, no camera, no witness, no proof Nala had been harmed. But I knew. Keen had entered my room, watched me sleep, and maybe touched Nala while I was still dreaming. I filed a restraining order the next day. The last time I saw Keen was in court, head down, silent. I still don't know what he did in those few minutes when I was checking the living room. But I know one thing for sure. I never feel safe anymore. Not even behind locked doors. Story 3. The Man in the Black Hoodie. I met Mike in 11th grade. He was a year older from a nearby school. We met on Facebook, messaged, then started dating. He was tall, good-looking, and made me feel special. But Mike had a temper. I realized it the first time he slammed the table just because I replied late. I started pulling away, and that's when I noticed Andrew, a gentle classmate who treated me with kindness. I decided to break up with Mike. That night, I asked Mike to pick me up for a talk. As soon as I got in the car, I could feel the tension. When I told him it was over, he punched the dashboard hard. I reached for the door, he grabbed my arm. "No, don't go. We're just having a fight." He turned the car and I realized we weren't going home. He was driving into the woods outside town. I panicked. When the car stopped near a trail, I jumped out and ran into the trees. He screamed behind me. I called my mom. She picked me up at a nearby intersection. Mike later texted apologies. I never replied. 2 nights later, I was walking to Andrew's house. Halfway there, I noticed a figure walking across the street, same pace as me, wearing a black hood pulled tight. I sped up. He sped up. Near Andrew's house, I turned to look. He was gone. Then I heard footsteps right behind me. I screamed and ran to Andrew's porch just as he opened the door. When I turned around, the figure had vanished. But I knew it was Mike. I recognized his shape, his walk, and most of all, his stare. After more incidents, my dad confronted Mike's family. He never showed up again. But whenever I walk home alone and hear footsteps behind me, I still remember that night. And the man in the black hoodie, silently following me. Some things don't leave you after a breakup. Not the memories, not the longing, but the obsession. If someone stands on your porch every night, don't rush to open the door. Thanks for listening. And if you've ever experienced something truly disturbing, leave your story in the comments. Who knows, it might be the next one we tell in the dark.